Staying on top of medications when caring for a person living with Alzheimer's disease can be very challenging for caregivers, from getting organized to making sure the medications are taken on time to dealing with the other person refusing to take any medications at all. So in this week's episode, I'm going to share 5 tips to help caregivers navigate medication management. And be sure you stay tuned to the end, and I'm going to give you a link to get a free infographic with these tips so that you have them handy. Welcome back to This Is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm Dr. Melissa Batchelor, and I am a nurse practitioner, and I wear a lot of different hats in my work, including hosting this weekly podcast to bring you news and information on aging, caring for someone living with Alzheimer's disease, and a wide range of topics that I hope will help move us towards becoming an age-friendly world. Because when things are age-friendly, they're friendly for everyone. So if you like the podcast, the best way to help me grow and support the podcast is to like it, share it, and leave a review in whatever platform you've tuned in on today. Because no matter how old you are today, we are all aging, and these issues are going to become increasingly important. If you're a millennial, there are things that need to be in place when you reach the age of 65. So we have about 20 to 25 years to get these things in place to help you age with the support and choices that will help you, just like the people that are 65 today. Your likes, shares, and reviews help get the information out to help more people dealing with these issues. But right now, let's get going on this week's episode. Now let's dive into this week's episode where I'm talking about 5 tips for managing medications in Alzheimer's disease. Managing medications in Alzheimer's care is a task that requires a delicate blend of being organized and being empathetic. And so today we're going to delve into 5 key strategies that will not only help simplify this process, but can also contribute to the overall well-being of both of you. So first tip, establish a routine and use visual cues. When you establish a consistent daily routine for medication administration, that means that you're giving the medication at the same time each day, and you're trying to align it with other activities that you're doing. So if for your morning medications, maybe they have to be taken with a meal, so we're lining that up with breakfast. But creating some type of routine and having cues that it's time for medications at that time. So it's basically creating daily rituals so that it's the same time, same place, because studies show that when we do that, it actually increases consistency with taking our medications. The next part of that is to use visual cues. So if you have a medication chart or a pill organizer with the days of the week, this reinforces the routine, and it can actually give a visual cue to the person that they have not taken their medications that day. But again, if you get into a situation where they're saying they took them and you're saying they didn't because they're still in the pill box, at that point in time, it's probably best to just back off, wait a few minutes, and then try again with getting the medications. Tip number 2, simplify the medication schedule. A lot of times you may be seeing a lot of different providers, and you can talk to like your primary care provider and ask them to do what's called a medication reconciliation. And that's where they look at all the drugs, the different times of day they have to be taken. And a lot of times you might have a medication list, but it's helpful to put this list by breakfast, lunch, dinner, and evening so that the provider can take a look to say, oh, that is 6 pills in the morning, and 12 pills at lunch, because they may be able to explore options like combination pills or once daily pills that would achieve the same goal. And so this is really just a matter of taking your medication list, having it written out by the times of day that you're taking those medications, and having that conversation. Because when we do this, research shows that this increases compliance with taking our medications or adherence, but also reduces the risk of making medication errors. Would you like to increase visibility for a product or service you've developed for older adults or their families? Or maybe you'd like to drive more traffic to your website by advertising to your target demographic. If so, I want to let you know about a new opportunity to advertise on This Is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World, which is a top 10% globally ranked podcast, to get the word out about your product or service. You can learn more by visiting my website at MelissaBPhD.com, and I look forward to working with you. Tip number 3, use a medication management tool. So if you're using something like blister packs, you can request those from your pharmacy. to where the medications are all combined into one blister pack for breakfast, lunch, dinner. You could use a pill organizer, which might be helpful if you're titrating medications, or the physician is giving, or provider's giving you like a medication to try, or they're upping the dose or decreasing the dose. In that case, a pill organizer is better if any medication changes are being made. And then another option would be to consider an automated dispenser. So these tools help to ensure that the correct medications are taken at the right time and in the correct dose. So technology solutions that even I use recently have had to add like a twice a day like supplement, and that's not new for me. That's a new routine for me and my family. And so I actually have my alarm set on my iPhone. So when it goes off, it says, be sure to take your morning medications. And there's also an app on Apple phones called Apple Health, and you can program when you're supposed to take your medications into that app, or the medication somebody else is supposed to take. And then you're able to click them off. And I always thought that taking my medications would be easy, but I was actually missing quite a few doses with this calcium that I was trying to take. And so I was like, well, I'll simplify this and just get a long-acting calcium. So I'm only taking once a day, because taking medications in the evening was more difficult. Anyways, tip number 4, monitor for side effects and changes. First thing you want to do here is that you really want to be vigilant, that you're looking for any signs of medication side effect. And with a person living with Alzheimer's disease, this may not be something that they can verbalize to you. So you're really going to be looking at their behavior, and not only behaviors that get our attention, like if they're more active than usual, that tends to get people's attention a lot, but also if they're sleeping more or they're sitting in their chair more, because that could be a side effect. Tiredness, fatigue, all those things could be related to the medication. So be sure that you're paying much more attention to their behavior when you're starting a new medication than you are to what they're actually telling you. And then be sure that you're regularly communicating with your healthcare providers so that you can tell them about any observed changes. So if they're not right that day, be sure that you're putting a call in to your provider so that you can talk about maybe adjusting the medication plan as needed. And then tip number 5 is, this is probably the best tip for reducing resistance, is to involve the person in the process. Because even though you are living with Alzheimer's disease, that doesn't mean that you can't make any decisions. So whenever possible, involve the person in that medication management process. You can provide simple explanations about why each medication is needed, but then involve them in the decision-making of either, would you like to take your pills before you eat or after you eat, if the timing around the meal is optional. You can ask them, which of these pills would you like to take first, if they'd like to take them, in order. These simple explanations and involving them in decisions can make a world of difference, because, studies show that they have a positive impact when we involve the other person, and it impacts both of our well-being because we're not fighting about it. We're making these decisions together. And then lastly, just being sure that you're being patient and supportive during the time to take medications, offering reassurance, offering positive reinforcement, and giving them the independence and autonomy to take their medications while you maybe just observe them from a distance. For example, my grandmother had mild Alzheimer's disease, but she could take her medications if we put them in front of her, and she would sit there and take them one at a time. And so we just kind of watched her from a distance so that she felt like she was doing it independently, but we were making sure that she took them all, so that's kind of the collaborative approach. And remember that each person with Alzheimer's disease is unique, and medication management strategies may need to be tailored to their specific needs and their abilities, as well as the medications that they're taking and the other parameters that you have to adhere to, like either an hour before a meal or taking with a full glass of water, so all of those things still need to be considered. But open communication with your healthcare provider and ongoing reassessment or looking at that medication plan every time you go in for a visit are really critical for ensuring that everything goes well and that we minimize side effects while getting the maximum impact from the medications. Also, seeking support from healthcare professionals or support groups can be beneficial for caregivers if you're facing a particular challenge with the medication management or running into a lot of resistance with taking medications for the person that you're caring for. And you can get your free infographic at MelissaBPhD.com/managing-meds. And again, that's MelissaBPhD.com/managing-meds. And I look forward to you grabbing that free infographic and using these tips to help you manage medications easier. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. You can check out other episodes on this platform or visit my website at MelissaBPhD.com. Thanks to listeners like you, in the first 18 months of This Is Getting Old, we have reached a ranking of top 10% globally, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your support in making that happen. I'm also really excited to let you know that you can now work with me directly, either one-on-one or you can join one of the groups that I coach. Particularly if you're an adult child dealing with an aging parent or a caregiver trying to manage the complexities of someone living with Alzheimer's disease. In the show notes, you can also find information about how to reach out and contact me directly, and I hope to work with each of you very soon as we discover and share more ways to make the world more age-friendly for everyone. My website also has information about how to contact me for speaking engagements, or if you have someone you'd like to recommend as a show guest for This Is Getting Old. If you have a product or service in the aging space that you would like to advertise and or sponsor an episode, there's more information about that on my website. And you can also find books and courses that I developed and learn more about the products and services that I recommend. So don't forget, if you like the podcast, the best way to help me grow and support it is to like it, share it, and leave a review in whatever platform that you've tuned in on today. Your likes, shares, and reviews help increase my rating and my rankings, and also help other people find the podcast. I look forward to reading your reviews and hearing from you.